The confessional. I've done something very dumb. In my excitement to go sailing for the first time, because I'm a child, I forgot to change the oil in the transmission. And it seems to have frozen up. I am not super stoked on rebuilding or replacing a transmission. So, anyway, let's see how bad it is. So I just found this among the few things that I saved from the Great Flood. ATF, automatic transmission fluid, sealed container. Maybe I don't learn my lessons, but I'm gonna give it a go. It's not a good color. Gray oil. I don't think you can tell from this, but gray means water. Lots of water, which, like, honestly, not a surprise. The boat was underwater. You don't need to be a mechanic to know that that is not the color of fluid you want coming out of a transmission. Yikes.
I figured if there was any chance of saving this transmission, the best bet would be to open it up, fill it with new oil, run it for a minute, see if I can get it to engage in any meaningful way, flush that oil out, put new oil in it again, and do that a couple of times. Now, I had also seen all this nasty muck getting pushed out of the bell housing. So there's something else going on, either a seal in the back of the transmission or a seal in the back of the engine that's leaking a ton of oil into the drivetrain somewhere. So the stuck transmission is not the only issue, but this is a good starting point.
I mean, I figured it was unlikely to be an easy fix, but I was optimistic. Oh my gosh, I got it to free up. I'd read online somewhere that if you use the starter to turn the drive shaft just a little bit, that it would pop. There's a little bit of truth. Go in reverse. Oh, sweet Lord. That's it for me today. I'm going home. So everybody's been telling me that you can move this island to get full access to the engine. And I'm definitely going to need full access to unbolt the transmission. So let's see if I can figure out how to do this. We got a screw here. Hold it in. Okay, so now that I've gotten it to move, the real question is, where on earth am I gonna put it? Oh, this kind of comes apart, huh? All right, let me start by removing the freshwater hoses from the heat exchanger, and then we'll drain the coolant out of the coolant side hoses, and then we'll remove the heat exchanger. It's going to serve two purposes. A, because we've got an overheating problem, so I need to check the heat exchanger anyway, and B, I need access to this bell housing. All right, I'm gonna take the lower coolant hose off. We got the top one off. It's dripping a little bit. Really nice to get in here, give this thing a full clean. There is a lot of oil and other contaminants underneath the engine here. So at some point we're gonna give this thing a nice bath. Let's see if we can get this off without spilling coolant. Okay, raw water. Here's the pickup muffler to the U-valve. Comes right over to the top vent. This one is coolant, comes back around to this connector tube and then into coolant reservoir. Man, that looks bad. Yikes. And then this is fresh water. All right, we got our heat exchanger off. Besides being really dirty and a little corroded, it looks pretty good. So I think we're gonna be all right here. As long as it's the 3-inch, I'm gonna measure this. They say that this boat really should have the 3-inch and it came with the 2-inch, and that could potentially cause the overheating. So I'm definitely gonna check on that. Otherwise, I think I'm gonna clean this up, probably paint it and then put it back on. All right, so I've tied a rope to the engine mounts. I'm going to attach that rope to the main sheet, and I'm gonna use the tackle on the main sheet and a winch to hoist the engine up just enough to unbolt the bell housing, to remove the bell housing from the engine. Here we go. I figured while I was in here I'd remove the motor mounts because they look terrible, even though the rubber's kind of fine. Bell housing is off. Damper plate also like looks bad, but I feel like with a little diesel clean and a scrub, it's not as bad as it looks.
A lot of times when I'm working on boats, I tell somebody, hey, you know, I've only actually put $1,000 into this boat, or $1,500. And they say, well, what about your time? You put a ton of time into it. And I have put a ton of time into this boat. I mean, like probably 100 hours so far or something. But what I've come to realize is that I love the process of scrubbing and scraping and cleaning and fixing. And generally the feeling of taking something that's completely gone to crap and bringing it back to life and keeping it from being just another thing in a landfill or another thing that gets replaced. Because it turns out almost everything can be fixed and cleaned up. And although I know inevitably some part of this thing that I put now a ton of time into cleaning up is going to not work, and it's going to need to be pulled apart again, and it's going to get scratched up, and it's going to need to be painted again. It's all part of the process of learning the patience that it takes to refinish something old and finding joy in the process. The disgusting bell housing that was caked with grease and muck and nasty oil has been scraped and scrubbed and degreased and scraped and scrubbed and degreased again, and finally looks like this. Next time while I get this engine dropped into the boat and have to pull it right back out.